If you're an influencer who receives products from companies in exchange for a campaign, or if companies are just sending you products in hopes that maybe you'll post with no strings attached, you actually have to pay taxes on those gifts if over a certain amount. Today, we're talking to professional CPA Christy Bowie, who is breaking down everything you need to know about taxes on gifts as influencers. Let's jump in.
Hi, my name is Christy. I'm a CPA and financial consultant helping influencers, content creators, and business owners manage their stress and understand their finances and taxes.
One of the things that we have been talking about in your episodes, and this is episode 3, make sure you're checking out the other ones, I'll link those down below for you, has been all about taxes on gifted products for influencers. So as influencers, we are often sent packages in exchange for content we're putting out there, and packages were sent just to be nice, and packages were randomly sent without anything that we knew was coming. So when it comes to products that we are gifted, campaigns that we're gifted, what do we need to know in terms of taxes?
Yeah, so a gift is considered income. It's considered them giving you income in exchange for you providing them advertising. And this is unfortunately whether it's asked for or not. So the kind of premise behind it, because I always get a lot of pushback on it, is there is a expectation of something. Brands are not sending me products because they know I'm not going to post it on social media and get them a bunch of sales. People don't care about what I'm doing, but they are sending these things to influencers as kind of a compensation, if you will, for, hey, promote us, do this. So that is why gifts are considered income. So any gift you receive over $100. So there are, exceptions for little, if you have a card or something. But any gift over $100 is actually considered income.
When it comes to that, do you guess as to whether or not that's going to be over $100? Because sometimes there's things that you're just not sure of. So are we kind of protected in our assumption that it is or it is not? Or do we have to actually specifically find out?
So I would recommend, again, there is just not a lot of legislation on this, but I have gone through this and I have a template on my website actually that is a email template of ways you can email brands and say the exact wording of, hey, I need to know how much this is for tax purposes. I need to know, here's my W-9, here's all this information. And first of all, that makes you appear really professional to a brand. If I was on the brand side and I got that, I would be like, wow, this person knows what they're talking about. This is someone who is taking this very seriously. And from a brand side, they're going to look at that and say, okay, this is a professional we are working with. So things like that always kind of make it more acceptable for you to say, hey, I'm a professional. I'm not going to be doing gifted things, or I am expecting, X much compensation because I treat this like a professional. So that's kind of the first thing I would say. Just make sure you have the right verbiage in your emails. Again, I do have a template for that. And not only is that going to give you the answer, it's also going to make you appear more professional.
And we always like appearing more professional because then we can charge more money and get better deals, which we did talk about in our first episode. That's linked down below. Make sure you hit that up. And if you have questions about any of this, drop them down below in the comments. We are going to be monitoring those to make sure we're getting answers for you. And we'll have Christy back for more episodes in the future as well. So when it comes to these gifted campaigns, we do have to pay those taxes, and we have to make sure that we are documenting this and making sure everything is taken care of properly. So how do we go about reporting these things? Is there a specific way that we're doing this? Do we just kind of include it in the information we're sending to our CPAs, or what does that look like for us?
Yeah. So I generally, when I work with clients, I kind of just ask them to keep a spreadsheet of, hey, like, here's what I received, here's how much it was. And I add those in on my end because I do financials for them. I will add those into their financials. But you could also just keep pure like cash financial statements and then send that spreadsheet into your CPA at the end of the year. There's really no formal process for it. It just kind of depends who you work with and how you want to count it. But just make sure you have some way of documenting it and letting professionals you work with know, because otherwise I have no way other than maybe looking at your social media, which also the IRS can do. That's the only way I know of that, you received these gifts. So there is a component of taxes. I know that people always want to hand things off to a CPA and say, hey, it's done. And I always joke that like one of the hardest parts is actually just gathering the information.
That's a very good point because that is a lot of information to keep track of.
Oh,
One of
even
the
doing my own, I'm like, I can do this, but I need to find the forms.
One of the things we talked about in our earlier videos was that doing it piece by piece as it's happening definitely helps to make a difference, because if you get right up to that deadline and now all of a sudden you have to do all this paperwork and find all of these documents and handle all of these spreadsheets, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to become very overwhelming. So making sure that we are doing this step by step as we go is definitely going to be helpful. Now, when it comes to all of this fun stuff, we mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that this counts for gifted campaigns, but it also counts for things that people randomly send you. So if you have a PO box, or if they found your information some way and they are starting to send you gifts with no expectations, what do we need to know about this? Because this is really important.
Yeah, so unfortunately, this is also considered gifted, or this is also considered income as a gifted product. So it infuriates me that brands are able to do this, that brands are able to get a hold of your information, even if you don't want to or agree to it. That is something I think there will be, just privacy laws on in the future. So I'm really hoping to see some of that. The other thing is, first off, make sure you know where they're getting your information from. If you just have it posted, I know some people are like, my PO box is this. Really think through if you want to do that, if you want to pay the taxes on that product. The other thing is making sure, if you're working with some sort of agency to get these deals, make sure that they have your privacy and your best interests at heart as well. So making sure that is my information being leaked? Are people agreeing to things without my consent? But also, there's definitely the occasion when maybe you've worked with a brand in a paid collaboration before, and now they're just sending you stuff after. Yeah, that's hard, but it is still taxable. And so, there are some things you can do. You can write to the brand, say, hey, I don't consent to receiving this information. You can decline the package, which I know sometimes you can do that at the post office. You can send it back, which the post office can kind of do like a return to sender. Or you can also eventually do a big giveaway kind of with all of these things. And that could be considered, if there is some component of trying to draw attention to you, your channel, your social platform, whatever that may be, based on this giveaway, that can be considered advertising, which is then a deduction. So if you've recognized all of this in income, but then the deduction is everything you're giving away, that can kind of help offset that. But honestly, my biggest advice based on this is make sure you know what brands are giving you. Make sure you are protecting your privacy. And this is a huge reason you should not be agreeing to just gifted collaborations without really, really thinking through it.
I love that. And I feel like I really want to talk about making sure that we are going to be getting paid for what we do and not just accepting those gifted collaborations. But I do want to point out that if you are taking what you are receiving and using it as a giveaway, your state will have specific rules and regulations that you are mandated to be checking and to be adhering to when you're doing these giveaways. So you want to make sure you are legally protected in that, and every state's going to be different. So you have to do your research. You've got to Google that, because
and something we talked about earlier was having a good team around us. And that's exactly where that comes in. Me as your CPA is going to say, hey, can we do a giveaway? And you're going to turn to your lawyer and you're going to say, hey, what do I need to do for this? So just bringing that back up, it's really important to have those people who can guide you through this.
It really, truly is. Make sure you hit up that first episode, because that has just a wealth of information that we are now diving a little bit deeper into in some of these extra conversations. And if you've got questions on any of this, please feel free to drop those down below. We want to make sure we're getting all of your questions answered. We will be monitoring those, and we're going to get Christy back for more episodes as well. But of course, you can hang out with her social media, which we're going to link you to in just a little bit. So we talked a little bit about how it's really important to make sure we are being paid for those collaborations and not just doing those gifted product exchanges, because that typically doesn't work to our benefit. So do you have advice for doing this to make sure we're covering ourselves when we are getting those freebie campaigns? When's a good time to accept those, and when is a good time to make sure we stay away?
Yeah, so there's always a strategic reason to do it. And I would say the first off, if you are not thinking through it, don't do it. If you're not saying, this is how this is actually going to benefit me long term. Because to be totally honest, unless it's a product you really, really wanted, it's not that beneficial. If you are saying, hey, I do want to work with this brand in a paid capacity down the road, let's start here. Okay, that makes sense to me. There is a long-term strategy for you to eventually get paid based off of that. So I'm not sitting here saying, oh, never accept free collaborations. I understand also from the brand side, like they want to see that you're worth getting paid. And I completely understand that. As a financial professional, I see both sides for sure. But the thing I want you to do is I want you to sit down and say, these are my expenses related to producing this content, whether it's, my fancy camera I got, my ring light, my mileage that I'm driving. Gas is expensive right now. If you're driving to a place to shoot content, add up all your expenses, then give yourself an hourly rate. Say, I want to be paid this for my time based off of this level of experience, or based off of, for me, when I would look at doing, something versus doing my full-time job. Hey, here's what I would get paid if I were doing something else instead of this. So add up all your expenses, add in your hourly rate, and that's how much you're losing when you are taking a gifted collaboration. So I always like my clients to look at both that, and then I also walk them through how much they like to spend in their life, whether it be, I like to eat out, or I like this new car, whatever, and make sure that what you are requesting from brands is going to sustain the lifestyle you're living. So I look at two components. I say, one, are you covering your expenses? And two, is this supporting the lifestyle you want to live? And probably somewhere in between those is where you're going to end up. I mean, I would love to tell a brand, hey, you're going to pay for my new car, but that's not realistic. But just making sure that it is worth your time, because you as a creator, as a professional, your time is valuable.
That is so incredibly well said. And I feel like even though we have these conversations a lot, we don't necessarily look at it from the perspective of, if you're taking these gifted campaigns and you're not being paid for that time, that is how much money you are losing. And that's a very good barometer to judge whether or not we're going to jump into those conversations with those brands. Final thoughts on gifted taxes.
Yeah, the biggest thing is just keep track of what's going on and make sure you know what you're worth, and when it is a gift and when it's more than a gift.
Perfect. Where can everybody connect with you online?
So my website is christybowie.com. On my website, you can see everything from freebies, specifically a couple I have for influencers and content creators, and also all of my services, as well as something I have called the membership, which is an educational community where I work with you, answer questions, and help keep you up to date on your tax obligations. I also have TikTok and Instagram, and my handle there is @itsChristyBowie.
Be sure to hit that subscribe and notification bell, because as these laws change and as we see developments, we're going to keep you posted as quickly as possible here on the platform so that you can keep your influencer business on the right side of all things legal and all things influencing. We want to make sure that you are growing a profitable brand, so follow along down below and drop any questions you have for Christy or for any of our influencing professionals here to help you grow your business. And we'll continue to drop daily videos on how you can level up on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, live streaming, and with the tools and resources you need to grow your influencing platform in a highly profitable way that allows you to take a lot of that time commitment out of what you're creating to make more money and get back to doing what you love, running your business and living your best life. I'll see you in the next episode.